Hello, Tom LaVecchia here with the latest edition of the New Theory podcast. Just a quick update. We just wrapped episode 21 on video of the MBA and Buttman podcast. We had Anthony Arlada, formerly of the Genovese crime family. It's amazing, amazing, amazing video. Part one is up now. Check that out on our main channel. We're cruising along with New Theory. I just want to give a special thanks to those from the UK. We are currently ranking in the top 100 for careers in the UK. So thank you for that. For Great Britain, I don't know what the difference is. I think Great Britain is the island and UK is them all together, but I should probably know. But nevertheless, thank you for that. And we're very happy to rank there. So this is a very special guest. I'm excited to have him on. Him and I were chatting. We're both cigar guys. Maybe throw that a little bit into the mix. So we're going to talk about The Secret Is You. Authors Chris Cicchinelli, and he charts 2 decades of transforming a 2-decade journey transforming pure romance into the world's largest in-home virtual party company of its kind, while sharing his innovative approach for empowering women to become successful entrepreneurs. So he's looking to pay that back. And interesting enough is, he works as a motivational speaker, an advocate for women. He was able to create a $350 million a year business and is able to speak on, multiple topics. So he's the CEO president of Pure Romance. Chris Cicchinelli, welcome to the New Theory podcast. How you doing today, buddy?
Tom, hey, thank you so much, man. I'm super excited. I've seen some of the podcasts, listened to them, and super excited being here today.
It's absolutely my pleasure to have you on. You hail from Cincinnati. Give us a little bit about your background and where you grew up.
I grew up in Cincinnati, born and raised here, right? Yeah. So, but then like every other person, I want to get out of Cincinnati. If you know anything about Mark Twain, he said, if the world ends today, you want to be in Cincinnati because it's 10 years behind the time. So literally, I left here, went to Atlanta, really great time in Atlanta, went to Florida, had some other jobs there right out of college. Played college football at Mount Union University up in Canton, Ohio. Very, very big Division III powerhouse back in the day, still kind of is today. And in 2000, my mom called and said, "Hey, I want you to come back and I want you to come to Cincinnati and I want you to work for me." Now I've already started my career, growing and, in my new role. And I told my mom, I said, "Mom, here's the deal. I'll come back to Cincinnati, Ohio. But if I come back there, I'll never get a job anywhere in the world." And the reason is you got to think in 2000, my mom started this business in the basement of our house in 1993. Yeah. It's an in-home party plan, right? We sell lotions, lingerie, bedroom accessories. I am in 2000. It wasn't really like mainstream. So I'm sitting there thinking, I'll never get a job anywhere in the world if I come back and do this. But I came back in 2000. It was one of the best decisions I ever made. My mom and I she had a company that was selling relationship enhancement products. Yeah. Doing about $1 million a year. We had 300 people at the time, and literally was able to figure out a way to scale this because my mom really wanted to scale the business. She was saying, "Hey, how do we do it?" She was in charge of products. I was in charge of development. I was in charge of where we were going, how we're going to scale the business. And we went for 3 years in a U-Haul, going from city to city to city. And went from 300 people working the business to now over 40,000 people that are in the business day to day. And these are independent salespeople, right? They're in charge of going out there. They're in charge of running their business, HR. They're in charge of making sure that they're in charge of marketing, in charge of sales, in charge of going out there and being able to be profitable. So today, having so many people, out there doing this, it's kind of interesting to think that in 2000 was such a pivotal change point for me in my life.
This is amazing. I'm checking out the site. I am listening, Chris, intensively, but I'm also checking out the site. So basically, and I knew of Pure Romance. I heard of it. I knew you can get products and stuff from there. So basically, you're like the Mary Kay of sex toys.
That would be yes, that is exactly Tom, I'm glad you said that. That is exactly what we do. And, we have, beauty that goes with it. So it's like we curate products for women, right? That's what we do. And that's why I was so worried about coming back in 2000. It was like, if I came here and it didn't work, how was I going to put that on my resume? Oh yeah. Hey, by the way, you sell sex toys. That was really a pivotal point for me. And we had to make it work. It was kind of like, how do we go out there? How do we change people's opinion? How do we make sure that we take it from the back of magazines and bookstores? And how do we take it into, in somebody's home in, Cincinnati, Ohio, or in Atlanta, Georgia, and to make people feel comfortable about purchasing, bedroom accessories.
So there's two things that I love about this. I love. And I did a little bit of homework on it, but I try not to, and anybody watches the show, it's not an attitude of lack of respect. I just literally want it to be two guys chatting on the bus stop, or two guys with a gal chatting, whoever the guest is, and almost develop a conversation organically. That's the whole purpose of the show. But just checking you out, I love two things right off the bat. Number one, you're destigmatizing sex toys. I mean, like, it shouldn't be bad. Okay. It is what it is.
Yep.
We all have enhancements. We have different things that we do. If you don't use them, you're probably boring. So this is, so number one, you're destigmatizing, so two guys can speak about it openly without the shroud of mystery, right? Number two is you're empowering women. So it's not like you're some like Asian manufacturer importing it, flipping it on Amazon, flipping it on here, wherever they're sold.
Yep.
You're empowering women to say, hey, you know what? Once you host a party, whether it be Zoom or whether it be whatever, you have a fun party. I don't know. We'll talk about how you do it in a second. The Tupperware model, like, hey, whether they get a break or whether they get free, whatever that is, right? And then they have a party. They make a few bucks, and then women get to kind of spice up their love, maybe have a little wine, hopefully in the safe confines of their home, and then empowering women entrepreneurs. So I listen, I love it. So give me the model. So I'm a female.
Yep.
And I come across your site. I want to host a party. Walk me through.
Okay. So it's kind of interesting. So I'll talk about pre-COVID, and I'll talk about now post-COVID, right? Yeah. Pre-COVID, we were, you get on the site, you're like, hey, listen, I want to have 5 or 6 of my girlfriends over, maybe 10. Our consultant would come in, right? So say you're in Jersey, we have over 1,000 people in Jersey, right? And so one of them, we get the party, go in to do the party, do a little presentation, talk about every laughs, giggles. They talk about the most kind of, uncomfortable subject, right? Which everybody gets so uncomfortable when you start talking about relationship and you talk about sex. So our people have to be really trained about using proper terminology, not using slang, because you're in somebody's house and you want to respect that. We come in as kind of like lay sexual health professionals. Once that presentation is done, then everybody goes into their own private boarding room with the consultant. They talk about what they're looking for, what they need to look like, for the relationship. I tell our consultants, I said, listen, most people have lost their creativity when it comes to their relationship. What does date night look like? What should they be doing with their significant other? They've been married for 2 years or 20 years, right? You got to spice it up. And so people come in the shopping room, and then, it's interesting. They will empty out their purses, right? And they will put all of the products that they don't want anybody to see. They'll put those in their purses, and they'll walk out with a little bag, and it might have like a little lipstick or something like this. But it's funny now, today, more and more people are like, no, I got this for me and my significant other, and they walk out and they take the products home that night. That was the game changer for us. Most times when you go to order, you have to wait a while, right? We live in a society that stuff is not fast enough for us anymore. Fast food's not even fast anymore. And, we took that kind of whole, Jeff Bezos model, right? Bezos said, if you can't be delivered to that person within 12 hours, you're not going to be on our site. Correct. And we knew that we needed to make sure that people were able to take home the product that night. So they would take it home. We follow up within 24 hours, make sure that they're happy with their purchase or that they have any questions, because most people, they're like, man, how do I utilize it? It's so funny you started that in the beginning of the podcast. Most people have no idea how to add things to their relationship and spice and whatever, because they don't communicate. They don't communicate about what they need to be doing. So that's kind of how the party basically goes. Now, post-COVID has been different. I mean, now we're talking about March 23rd, we had 80% to 90% of our business being done inside somebody's house. Also, now we can't do it. And I live by a thing that I talk about in the book, which is, change is inevitable, growth is an option. Most people, because of change, they get paralyzed, right? I think change can propel you and really be able to do something. Now, you said at the top of the podcast, $350 million. You're absolutely accurate. But in 2019, we were a $250 million business, right? Wow. We were able to go and do something during COVID, and we were able to go to $350 million. Yes, it was very it worked. But when you would tell people, hey, listen, we're going to transition from you going into somebody's home to you doing a Zoom party, my field was like, Zoom, is that like some sort of, what is Zoom? Is that is that a household appliance? Where do I get that? Where do I go to, Costco to buy it? But nobody knew what Zoom was.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden to be able to transition, and now they do parties on Zoom. They do social selling. They are working in their VIP groups. It's just a different way. We did not let them think about what the old way was. We just wanted to pivot because we said, listen, this is a new opportunity. It took our business, COVID basically took our business and propelled it 5 years in the future.
Wow. And then, so then you just pivot, you enhance. Okay. So I'm a female. I do my virtual. I picked the 5 things that I like, right? Is it, do I pay for it at a transfer cost lower? And then give me the logistics.
Yeah. So the business model is perfect, right?
Yeah.
So the average person gets a buying discount about 47%. So say the MSRP is $100. Let's just use 40 for this example. She pays 60, then she goes and she sells it to her friend. So the average person's getting up to 50% buying discount, right? So she goes, buys it for 50, she sells it to her friends for
So
100.
worst case scenario, she gets cheap sex toys. Worst case scenario.
Exactly. Okay. And the more she sells, she also gets free product that she can use for herself. So, and have her own personal goods. So it is something that the business is, it's amazing. Last year alone, we had, and this is going to be a crazy number, we had almost 200 people that made over 6 figures.
Wow.
Now, we had, when you start looking at this, is side hustles for a lot of people, right? So they were doing this on the side. They had their JOBs, but they're looking and saying, hey, JOB is just over broke. I can't make money in my real job. I can't put more money away for my savings or for the extra vacation. So they do this and they make extra money. My top earner last year made $1.4 million. So,
Jesus.
and so it's real money. And I think you said it best. I watched my mom get into this business in 1983. She was just like a consultant, started her business in 1993. And the amount of people that we've been empowered to own and operate their business. And we do a lot in one area that we have a lot of people come into, and that's hospitality. And what happened? 24 million people got laid off in hospitality, around the country, servers, whatever. And so we had an influx of people come in and they found, hey, man, I can really have my own side hustle. I don't have a glass ceiling. I don't have somebody tell me when I can and cannot work. And I can really make money on my own terms. And that was a really big game changer. I think people quit worrying about the type of product, because I tell them, don't worry about the product. It doesn't matter what you sell, because ultimately people are going to buy you. You're the product.
Correct. And it's relationships. So if I join your consortium, do you have tiers and stuff, or just a pretty much flat thing where it's, here you go?
No, here's the thing. So you have a couple of different tiers. Most people go down infinite, right? Like if you look at any type of Mary Kay, you said that up front, they go down multiple levels, multiple different tiers, things like that. We go down 4 levels, right? You got 1 level down, which are your daughters, granddaughters, great granddaughters. You go 4 levels down. And that's as much as we go. And we do that because, it's bringing people in. It's a referral base, it's kind of like being a brand ambassador or being somebody that is going to, push a different brand. That's exactly how it works. So our consultants have been very, very good about bringing people in. And also they should get some sort of a bump when they train somebody properly, when they help them get ahead in life. Because I think, we're in charge of our success, but we also have to engage and be students of life. And that's what we talk about here at Pure Romance.
Now, what percentage of your business, if you could, your private company, I assume, correct?
Yep.
You're comfortable sharing this is okay. What percentage is direct to consumer now? And what percentage of revenues through partners?
Good question. It is amazing that we only do about 10% direct to consumer.
Yeah,
so it's
good. That's good.
Yeah.
I like that. It's good.
Yeah. We really funnel everything through our consultants. We train them. Here's how I look at this. I want it to go to the consultants because they own the relationship, right? I can't own a relationship with, we have on our website every month, we have 100,000 people buying product on there. How do you maintain 100,000 people buying product a month? We want them to own the relationship, right? Let them do it. Now, there are some people, the reason that 10% comes through the website is some people are really they don't want other people to know what they're purchasing. They want to be, I don't want to tell you what I'm having.
Yeah.
So that's why.
No, and it's interesting because I like, so for those out there, they'll be like, well, we care about our partners. And I'm like, well, how much is DTC? 80%. Well, because they use your partners to build a relationship. So I like the fact that you allow the partners to maintain the relationship. It's decentralized. So the more partners you have, the less exposure. So I like that. How do you acquire partners?
That's the big thing right now.
That's not cheap, by the way.
No, it's not. And you know what? But we figured out this. The model that we have figured out is giving the power. When you give the power to the partners, right, and you give them the power of going out there, and one, they're finding success, right? Two, they're living healthy. We do a lot of personal development. We do a ton of personal development every day. I do a 9 o'clock call with thousands of people, and we do professional development. Nice. I think there's so many people paying for people to come in and acquiring new people. What I said is, if people see you living healthy, and this is the stuff I get to my partners, if they see you living healthy, don't put the Ferraris up there, don't put the houses up there, but just live healthy, live happy. People will be attracted to you. And that's exactly, we have done so much better by our consultants just showing on Instagram, on TikTok, on Facebook, how they're living. But I told them, be authentic. The moment that you start putting all that other fake stuff up there, you will be found out and people will not want to work with you. And I have that. The more, it's so crazy. Last year, we had almost 75,000 people join the business.
Oh, wow.
And we did nothing different other than, showing how they can make money, showing them what the network that they are belonging to. And the cool part about here at Pure Romance is 45% of people stay because of the community. I don't think businesses are that in tune into why their culture, their community, their group of people that is inside. I think they've lost sight of that. And I think they look at it as just everybody wants to make money. Not everybody wants to make money. Now, Tom, I bet you like to make money. I like to make money. But there are people that just like to be part of something successful. They like to be part of something fun.
Yeah. Now, on top of this, in terms of, have you worked with influencers? Like, are you doing the influencer route? They post on Instagram, or are you staying away from that?
No, we stayed away from it. Now, listen, I think it works in all kinds of businesses. No, we haven't. And we haven't really talked about that, because I look at this as that we have 40,000 influencers out there every day that are utilizing the product and they're talking about the product. And it could be Cindy from Cedar Rapids, Iowa. It could be, Betty from Buffalo. It could be Tanya from Texas, right? Like I believe that them using and being ambassadors of their own products, talking about, because we have also beauty products, right? We also have bath products. The more that they can see them actually involving the products, people want to buy what their friends are referring to. We live in a Yelp society, right? We live in a society that if one of our friends says, hey, here you're going to Austin. Well, yeah, I went to this great restaurant. Well, you might say, hey, listen, I might make reservations. I heard about this restaurant from a friend of mine. People will buy and be like, hey, that shave product I heard about that they're selling that Tanya is using, I might use it because she's got no razor bumps and it's bikini season and I want to make sure that I'm ready to go.
Now, is there an MLM component where if Jane becomes a partner and then Susan buys and then Susan becomes a partner, is there an MLM component?
No,
or not
really? I say this, keep your customers your customers. Don't sign your customers up. I'm not a big fan of that.
I love it.
I think that business model is if Tanya wants to be a part of the company, then show her what she can do, but keep her as a customer, because listen, no business is easy. And most people, you'll get a bad reputation as a brand if you just start signing people on and they're not successful. What's going to happen is this: they're going to speak up and say the business failed. They didn't give me any help. They didn't do anything. Well, no, you failed the business because you came in with the wrong mindset that the business was going to do this for you. You have to still be the one that goes out. You eat what you kill in business. That is the truth. Whatever you want, and if you want more, then you're going to have to work more. I always tell people, don't sign up if you think this is easy. This is the hardest thing you're going to ever do, because you're so used to getting a paycheck, either salary or hourly. When you work for yourself, it's all on your shoulders. You're the person that's got to go out there and market. So customers stay customers. If you choose to want to come in the business, great. We want to have you, and we'll do everything for you as far as to give you the things that you need to do to be successful. But you're going to have to work the business.
So the reason why I like that is because one time at this like weight loss coffee, drove all the way to Staten Island, and they sat us down. They're like, well, wouldn't you like to be free? And wouldn't you like to be that? I'm like, no, I just want to stop being a fat fuck. So my challenge with MLMs is sell the product to me. Just sell the product. Sell me this. And I didn't like it. They add me on as a subscription. I like, it was a good friend of mine. I lost my shit. It got uncomfortable. I don't like subscriptions. I just don't. I'm like old school. I want to pay as I go. Right.
Yeah. You're prying up people. That's the problem. I think and that's why so many people have a bad reputation in this space, is because they do just that. Let the customers, why do we need to, if you need to be high pressure, or you feel like you're a consumer of a high pressure product, then why are you making me, if I love that thing, if I love that product, I'm going to come back to it. If you don't need to sign me up and worry about that. I'm not going to reorder, or I'm not going to do that. We really don't get into that. I mean, because at the end of the day, our business model is kind of, if you're happy with it, you'll come back to us. And if you're not, great. You know what? I don't want to pressure you, because you know what, that right there, Tom, is exactly what I'm worried about. Because when you hear people that get pressured into subscriptions, get pressured into shit, now you just told all these people, right? And now what's going to happen? And you have a big microphone. You have a huge microphone. That's the stuff that I don't want to get myself into with our consultants, our partners, our people that are out there. I want them to say, look, if they like your stuff, they're going to come back. Don't worry about it.
So private company, we're going to conclude too, but private company, I mean, where are you at? Like, is this something that, cause you like, I know this is a little different, but like the Hims and Her model, right? The Hims came and they like really acquired a lot of men, and now they're doing Hers, and now they're staying in their lane, but they're doing, what is it? Horizontal integration by putting women in and going on. Are you thinking of expanding to men eventually?
Right now we've stayed in our lane as far as saying we do really well with female entrepreneurs. When we create this, we know our wheelhouse, and we stick to it. When you chase so many different rabbits, you catch none, right? And so we know we are really good at this, and we're going to stay this. I think that our goal is to go to $1 billion this year. I think we're going to hit over, half a billion.
Fantastic. That's fantastic.
But that's the thing. That's why when I sat down and I started to think about the book, people always ask, why'd you write this book? 21 years of experience, man, of going out there. And people think that, they ask me, how do I be successful? They probably ask you the same question, Tom. Like, you've been successful, you have multiple businesses that you run. And people think that there's some sort of plan, or there's some sort of guide, or there's some sort of easy way. You've read Good to Great, I bet, by Jim Collins. You've probably read, How to Win Friends Influence by Carnegie.
Well, I wrote a sales book, and I know, and believe it or not, but Jim Collins, the most underrated one, is Great by Choice. Good to Great is great, but Great by Choice is my favorite.
And that's the truth. And when you get, and you peel back all the layers, and you peel back everything, all they're basically saying to you in those books, which I don't think anybody's really went out and said, is like, it all starts with you. Every bit of the success that you're going to see, your podcast, your businesses, whatever, it's going to start with you. Now, it doesn't mean that everybody is going to be successful, because most people don't want to do the work that gets them there. But if you have the discipline, if you're out there and you're willing to work, you're willing to put the time in, and that's what Secret is You is. It's a guide of my 21 years of not theory. It's reality, plus some of my partners that are in here that have also scaled businesses, like people that are on the verge of bankruptcy, people on the verge of losing their homes, and now all of a sudden have been able to use this tool because they understand, hey, detach from the outcome, commit to the process. Everybody I've met that I talk to says, I want to make more money. I want to be able to, have this or buy a bigger house. Well, great. That's the outcome. Are you willing to do the processes that get you the outcome that you're looking for? And that's what it is.
I love it. I love it. So Chris, I love it. Change is inevitable. Growth is an option. And you know what? Like I love it. I love it. So how can we find you, Chris?
So you can find me at Chris Cicchinelli. I know that's going to be hard for a lot of people. Italian, Cicchinelli on Instagram. You could also find The Secret. It's The Secret Is You, which is also the .com, where you can go get the book. I'm also a Pure Romance. So there's several places to be able to find me at. But right now, secretisyou.com. Anybody that's willing to find out a game plan, if they're looking at side hustle, looking at starting a small business. I've worked with 250,000 small businesses over 21 years and helping them grow. And that's why when I look at the book and I look at Pure Romance, to be able to give that information back to people is truly kind of what my mission is right now.
So in terms of your podcast, I saw you had a podcast.
Yeah.
Is that to support the book or support Pure Romance?
It's the support. Like and by the way, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'd love to have you on my podcast. If you
I would love to. I'd love to.
Good, because I'd love to have you, because it is a lot of female entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Working with my mom over the years and working with so many business owners, and I just love to see them grow. I mean, you probably saw the Forbes list today, right? All of a sudden now the more female billionaires than ever before, which is usually, we're moving some things forward. So that's really what the podcast was, just a piece of what we're doing, not to support the book. It's just a true journey we've been on.
Love it. Love to come on, offer accepted. We're going to put some links below so people could find you. Just one last question in terms of, and whether we like it or not, a lot of this stuff comes from China, and also a lot of supply chains were disrupted during COVID. How were you in terms of your supply chain during COVID?
That was probably our key to our success. We don't rob Peter to pay Paul. We invest back in the company. I start a year and I always have product in the United States through September.
That's so wow. So you carry 6 months on hand.
Oh yeah. And the reason we do this, and I know there's going to be people that probably don't agree with me, and that's okay. And I'm okay with that, because some people like the Walmart, where it's, just in time. The reason we don't do that is because we've ran into so many issues at ports. We've ran into so many issues with Chinese New Year. And we don't want any disruption. Once you have the disruption in your sales force, they become less confident in you. They start worrying about, is there problems? Are you having issues with finances? And those little scuttlebutts can really damage a brand. And so we've learned over, the years that we just go in with the year and have the product. That saved us. When nobody else could get products, guess who had products? We did. And so it did pay off during COVID.
So here's the only thing though, just doing some numbers, right? So let's just say, and I'm not, you don't have to peel back the curtain, but share, if I'm able to figure it out, probably most people can, right? So if you're carrying 6 months of inventory, and I'm assuming you probably have good relationship partners in China with 90-day terms, you're probably carrying at the minimum $70 million worth of inventory. Gross.
Yes.
Wow. That's balls move.
But here's the thing.
But hold on really quick. I'm guessing, I hate to see, so you can't come on the show and not get these questions. So I'm guessing you either don't have outside funding, or you have outside funding like from people that are not running the show. Is that fair to say?
We don't have outside funding.
Okay. Because just anybody who's listening or watching, the reason why I ask is because when you carry that much inventory, it is the right thing to do, right? You're investing back in the bit. Mm-hmm. Chris could have flown on his private jet, sat next to me today, and we could have had a totally different situation. But he's putting a lot of the money back in the inventory, right? And you can figure out the number, roughly 70 million sitting there somewhere, wherever it is, right? Gold mine, right? And I get that, but there's a lot of exposure. It ties up a lot of capital, ties up a lot of cash, not just capital, but cash. And then the reason why I brought up that he doesn't have outside investors hate it because inventory crushes EBITDA, and it puts you very heavy on the asset side, which is nice, but it hurts cash flow. And you actually, so you did the inverse, right? So you kept inventory, right? And increased your sales versus everybody else decreased their sales in COVID because they didn't pivot, and they decreased their inventory for A, not having the business, or B, just not having the structure in place. So COVID was like a perfect storm for you, man. Good.
And the one thing that, since you're going that way, you can only imagine my margins, right?
Yeah.
So, and I have very healthy margins because there's a deep, wide moat around this. A lot of people have the same mentality I had in 2020, or 2000 is like, I don't want to get in this industry. Please don't get in it, because the less people that get in, the more.
Well, you have healthier margins because of the way you operate. So, which is again, the right. So an investor would be like, well, I want in, right? Well, great. Here's $5 million, 10%, or whatever, whatever it's worth. Right. And then all of a sudden, well, can we start, drawing out? You're like, no, we need to buy more. They love the margins, but they don't love the inventory. It's like everybody likes to see the bloody butcher, but nobody wants to eat the steak. So this has been, I had high expectations, even higher than I expected. And Chris, thanks for being on the New Theory podcast.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much for having me. Can't wait to have you on mine.